Now, I'll be moving on to my next guest, who is Tina Wilson. Now, Tina is the founder of Wingman dating app. And if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that I do a regular relationship and dating column for them. And if you want to go online, if you're on social media, you can find Tina at Wingman_Tina. And also you can just follow at Wingman app. That's on social media. And I'm delighted that Tina is going to be joining me any moment now because we want to talk about dating. Hello, Tina. Hi.
Hi.
There's so much I want to ask you. First off, please tell people about Wingman, and then I want to know why you founded it. So tell them about Wingman app and how they use it if they're singles.
So if you are single and have tried traditional apps, dating apps, or just dislike online dating, Wingman is going to allow you to pass that control to others, right? So as a single, you're asking your friends or your family to write your testimonial and give us some insider info into who you are. But then they're also going on to make introductions, to search through various profiles and say, this guy would be great for you. I'm making the introduction. So they're very active in that wingman role. So for singles who hate online dating, we've seen so many people come on because traditional online dating has kind of terrified them, or they're just not okay with it. And so for us, it's really exciting to see that we're bringing a different category of daters on.
And what made you kind of develop it? I mean, where were you in your life? What were you single at the time, or and you were thinking this is what I need in my life, or you had single friends, or what was going on?
Both. So for me, I came out of a long relationship, and during that time everyone had kind of moved online. So when I came out of this relationship, I hadn't realized that everybody had moved online, right? People weren't meeting in bars. And so I was completely hesitant to get involved. I thought it was really weird to kind of have to describe yourself and to kind of, start on that swiping mission. But my girlfriends, my oldest friends, were like the most insistent about pushing me back out there. And I don't know about you or for many others, it's like when you come out of a relationship, you're not always at your most confident, or things have changed. And so having my friends help to encourage me and put me out there was my first step. The next step was for them writing my profile on current dating sites, so I didn't have to do it myself. And the third was them literally coming around for coffee mornings, going through all the matches and giving me their advice. So it when I found myself single and living in New York, where I was like, I want that, right? That's what happens in the real world. There should be something like that feels the same, right? It doesn't feel like a solo journey. You have your friends, your family. It feels like something like that would happen in a bar scene. And so it was at that point, the idea for Wingman was planted, and I threw myself into research and stuff, and then took a leap of faith when I created it.
Now, Ed has just come online and said, good afternoon. I have never done online dating. Real dating is hard enough. I dread thinking about online dating. So what would you say to someone who feels that way, how you did a few years ago?
Oh my God, I totally hear you. It's like there are some of my best friends who I think are the best people I know will not use online dating still, right? So no matter, they're in their 30s, but there's still that uncomfortableness about dating online. It's kind of strangers. And so for me, being able to actually say, my friend is great, this is why you should meet them, because it allows me to kind of push them forward. And so I would say to Ed, you don't have to like online dating, right? If you have someone that you care about, that knows you pretty well,
they can family member or friend, exactly.
Yeah, family or friend, they just give you that kind of step up to push you out of your comfort zone. And then, as you get into it and you realize it isn't as scary as you may have thought, it's going to get easier. And so so many people are using online dating right now as the only way. So there's probably lots of people on there that you might not ordinarily have met. So you just have to kind of rip that band-aid off. But obviously I think Wingman is the best way to date. But I would say whichever one you do, just throw yourself into it.
And as Ed just said, sorry, actually, as it happens, I don't need to, but I was just saying. But I think he's raised a question that especially a lot of men are feeling about, how do I go about it without like coming across too strong? Because you often hear women complaining about, oh, he raised sex within our first 3 messages and stuff. And a lot of guys are going, I don't want to be associated with online dating because it's supposedly it's all these guys just looking for sex. And so I think a lot of men are quite sensitive. Some of the good men are really, I'm not that I'm judging people who are just looking for sex, because if you're just looking for a fling, both of you, that's great. Do your thing, have safe sex though. No glove, no love. So get the condom on. But for people who want more, I think it's quite daunting because they figure it is just a playing field for people who want sex, which is one reason why, I love being part of the Wingman family, because it kind of helps you avoid some of that.
Well, that's it. There are so many pitfalls with traditional online dating, right? And you have the rejection, you have to sell yourself almost. And generally, it's like writing your own CV. You may exaggerate slight things. It's not actually truthful, right? Somebody wants to know you, they ask for a reference. And so this is a little bit the same, right? Somebody can talk about your great attributes and what you're good at. Whereas if you wrote it yourself, you'd sound slightly narcissistic. So having somebody,
that's hard because you're supposed to write good things about yourself, and people don't want to sound like narcissists.
But like you're saying, like there's so many different audiences that are looking at your profile, like the guys who might see someone and think it would be funny to say a particular thing. They may have said it in jest. Somebody's taking it the wrong way. Like it's so difficult to kind of really create that in-person feeling, right? So for me, hey, people getting in touch, hey, because people have all of the kind of baggage that brings them to these dating sites, it's kind of really hard to navigate that, to actually find out, do I like this person? Would we get on? You have to go through so many things to even get to that point. So for me, being able to bypass the rejection and the awkwardness and saying, hey, my friend would be a great match for you. Do you like them? That for me was kind of I was being active, but also creating some positive momentum, not just being a shoulder to cry on or simply swiping for somebody.
Funny enough, when I wrote my last dating guide, I was writing it in 2014, I think it came out in 2015. The research then said that by 2015, 50% of singles will be trying some form of online dating. So there's this huge wealth of people out there trying. And since 2015, it will only have escalated. And with lockdown, which is what I want to get to, it's hard being single this year. I can't imagine how hard that is. And I wondered if you had any, anecdotes of people who've been successful finding love during lockdown, or any tips that you would give people who are looking for love now when it's really difficult to actually have face-to-face meetings.
Do you know what? Yes, it's a completely different set of problems we have now than before. Like you're saying, pre-pandemic, people are online swiping, hooking up, right? That culture of hookup culture, a real throwaway attitude to being able to meet somebody in 1 mile within 10 minutes, and having that there hasn't always led to great relationships, right? Could maybe lead to a bit of fun, but it doesn't necessarily lead to a good match. So one of the things that we've seen on Wingman is a real slow down approach, right? People are taking longer to speak to somebody. They want to know somebody much better than before, right? Because we have the safety feature with Corona, but also people are nervous, right? People are cautious. And if anything this year has taught us, it's like, you just don't have to rush anything, right? Everyone's kind of been a bit stuck in their tracks. And so, yes, it has slowed down, and it hasn't become as kind of frantic with the swiping. But with that, people are reporting that they are meeting better matches. They're looking deeper into profiles than they would have before. And they're actually ended up making friends as well as relationships because of that patience.
See, that's kind of what I've been hearing in my role as date coaching, and I still do sort of Skype sessions and stuff, nothing face-to-face, but about people actually at first being panicked in March, like, I've just got single again and I want to find love. What am I going to do? To actually having their attitudes reshaped like that and thinking, actually, I can actually get to know someone without the pressure that when are we going to have sex? Third date sex, first date sex, 6 dates, what's the rule for sex? Which, talking about that, I always say to you, it should be your rule. It should not be someone else's rule. So whatever date you want to do it on, whether it's date 1 or date 101, it's your rule. But I think then people realize that there were these benefits.
Yeah, for us, it's, we have our community is singles, but it also includes their friends and family. So sometimes talking about somebody else, you can be a little bit more honest than you may be about yourself. So we see all of, people feedback with tons of information as to what's been happening. And even still, right, some of our Wingman users have said, I've introduced my friend to, all these different people, and they've come online and they've seen like there's 7 matches for them and they're so happy and they're really thankful to me. And the first thing they want to do is speak to me rather than any of their matches, because they want to, reinforce that friendship connection, to say thank you for doing that for me. So it's kind of a bit of a karmic loop, because it is about Wingman, but it is also about your friendships and those people that are helping you get through it. So I would say, yes, it is terrifying dating in a pandemic because it's tough, but it's also really tough out of a pandemic. I have friends who've been single for years and they've been going out every Wednesday to Saturday. It's like you have to be in the right mindset, the right timing to meet that person. And it could happen at the supermarket or it could happen online. I think for us, being in real life, having to meet people in real life for that more casual hookup, we're avoiding all of that, right? We don't have to do it. You don't need to feel awkward. We did a survey of singles saying, if somebody said to you, why don't you come over? What would you do? And 81% of singles said they would unmatch them immediately because they would just see them as shady.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
interesting. So it's interesting that some of those things have become red flags.
Well, and just a quick comment, Ed has made a point about, do you think not being able to meet anyone at the office has made a big difference? Well, traditionally, of course, about 30% of couples have met at the office. So people being furloughed, I think has probably made a big difference to sort of the romance and how people hook up, despite being online for online dating being so popular now. There's still that office thing. Well, listen, I have to let you go now. It's been amazing talking to you. Thank you so much.
Andrew, thank you for having me.